Hey everyone, this is Miss Brock. I would like to take some time today to explain your final analysis module review assignment. So when you get to this assignment, you'll need to click on the link, which will take you back to the lesson, but we'll click on activity and that'll open the PDF version of the assignment for you. Now you can either download this and then type your answers in it and save it to upload your assignment, or you can just type your answers in a Google Doc where it will auto save and you can attach that when you go to submit your assignment. Whatever works for you works for me though. So for this assignment, you are asked a couple of scenario type questions, and we'll look at those and discuss some possible responses, some ideas that you could include in your answer. So let's get started. Let's take a look at number one. Number one asks, imagine you are creating an informational text about the effect of alcohol advertising on underage drinking. What form would you use to present your findings? What types of evidence and rhetorical devices would you include? Explain your reasoning. Now, you can just list the forms, evidence, and rhetorical devices that you would use in this scenario here. So, just to give you some ideas, forms could include something like a slideshow or PowerPoint presentation. It could also be like a video where you could create a commercial or an advertisement, for example. So those are just some ideas to get you started there. Evidence includes things like statistics or studies, and we would call that logical evidence. Or it could be anecdotal evidence, which would be like an interview, okay, where you're either interviewing a person who's had firsthand experience with this, or you are sharing eyewitness testimony. That can either be your personal story or it could be somebody else's. And then the last thing you'll need to list here is rhetorical devices that you would use here. Now, rhetorical devices include ethos, oops, I spelled that wrong, ethos, pathos, and logos. So ethos is appeals to the speaker's credibility. Pathos would be emotions of the audience. So we're making appeals there to make our reader or our viewer experience some type of strong emotion. And then logos is logic of the message. So that would kind of lend more to our logical statistics or studies, things that are scientific that have been proven in research and studies. Okay. But you guys might also think about some other rhetorical devices that might make your presentation or your commercial or slideshow, print advertisement, whatever form you choose to use. You might just be creative there and think about what might be most appealing to get your message across in this particular scenario. For number two asks, what steps should you take when analyzing an argumentative or analytical or informational text? So my best advice here is go revisit the critical analysis lesson, specifically slide 6. There is a box toward the bottom of that page, a yellow box that has those steps listed. And all you got to do is list the steps in bullets. That's all you got to do. Step 1, step 2, step 3. That's all it is. Now, for number 3, this is our last scenario question. Let's take a look at it. Read the following excerpt from a persuasive text. Then evaluate the way the author builds their argument. Look for logical fallacies, discuss the author's credibility, examine the evidence they use, and reach a conclusion about the overall effectiveness of this piece. The scenario reads, I think chemicals are deadly. Chemicals shouldn't be used in the food we eat. Chemicals are dangerous for plants and animals too. If we keep using too many chemicals, they will pollute the earth and make everyone sick. A study said that chemicals are even causing honeybees to die. Whenever my little brother eats processed food with too many chemicals, like cereal, candy, or chips, he gets hyperactive for hours. Do yourself and the environment a favor and kick chemicals to the curb. All right, so there are a few things you're going to need to do for this question. The first thing you'll need to do is identify if there are any logical fallacies. The second thing you'll need to do here is explain whether or not you think the author of this informational text or argumentative text is credible. So, whenever we're looking at credibility of an author, you want to look and see if they've included any details that might help us better understand their background. So, do they have experience or expertise in this particular subject area? And that doesn't necessarily mean that they went to college and have a PhD in this particular subject, but do they have firsthand experience? And then also, what makes an argument credible is whether or not the writer is speaking from an objective point of view or more of a subjective point of view. So look for personal pronouns. If we see personal pronouns like I, me, my, you, or your, that really weakens an argument. So take a look at that and see if you think that that makes the author credible or not. And then the last thing you'll look at here is if the author has provided any credible evidence. Now, credible evidence is mostly going to come from research or studies from experts. This is going to be scientific. If we've listed a study, we better be able to see where that study has come from. We can't just say a study once said. We need to know more specific details than that. Okay. So the last thing you'll do here is overall, based off of your findings from 1 through 3 here, you need to conclude whether or not this is effective. Is it a good argument or is it a bad argument? Okay. Now, to kind of help you out with this again, take a look back at that typing is hard sometimes, critical analysis lesson, specifically sides 6 and 7, might give you some ideas on what to look for this response.